Hello, hello, hello. What is going on, everybody? Happy Monday, and welcome to another edition of the Weekly Astro Forecast live here in the Astro Room on YouTube. I am your host and your favorite astrologer, Mel of Divine Feminine Works, where I help people unlock their divinity and discover their magic. So if this is our first time meeting, welcome. And as always, if you are returning, welcome back. So this channel is everything astrology, spirituality, and manifestation. So if those are the things you like, if those are the things you love, or if those are the things you want to learn more about, don't forget to hit that subscribe button as well as that notification bell so you can be notified when I come out with new content. All right, my love. So this is going to be the weekly astro forecast for the week of November 20th through 26th, 2023. It's going to be a busy one. There's a lot going on in the sky this week. We've got a lot of cosmic activity and we start a new season. So on Wednesday, Sagittarius season will begin. So we're about to feel a little shift in the energy and a shift in our focus, which I think many of us are ready for because October was crazy with the eclipses. Scorpio season has been intense as hell. And Sagittarius season is going to have us seeing the bigger picture, reaching for the stars, and broadening our horizons, which is a much welcome change from all of this intense energy that we've been feeling. All right. So before I get into the details, as always, housekeeping and announcements. If you are joining me here on the live this evening, thank you so much for tuning in. I sincerely appreciate you. If you would be so kind as to say hello on your way in and also hit that like button, please and thank you. I would greatly appreciate it. And if you're watching this on the replay, I appreciate you just as much. I sincerely hope that you're able to get at least one important piece of information that you find valuable within this broadcast. And if you do, if you wouldn't mind hitting the like button and the subscribe button and that notification bell so you'll be locked in and you'll get notified every time I go live, which is every Monday night at 9:30 Eastern Standard Time. All right. So we are nearing the end of the year, for better or for worse, right? And we have a whole new year with a whole bunch of new energy on the horizon. And so I will be doing individual rising sign videos for each rising sign so that you know what to expect in 2024. And I'll be dropping that mid-December. So you definitely want to stick around for that. I'm debating if I should do like a live of just the general astrology for 2024. I think I should, but you guys let me know either in the chat or in the comments if you would like that. But I will also do individual videos for each sign. So that's definitely something to look out for. All right. And speaking of signs, if you are interested in getting your horoscope, but you don't know where to look, maybe what you're finding is not the best, and then since I'm like so tongue-tied tonight, I'm definitely tired, then consider subscribing to my text service where you will get your weekly horoscope texted to you every Monday. And if you're interested, you will text the word ZODIAC to the number 855-826-5544. All right. If you're interested, that information will be in the description box below. Okay. Let's see what else we have here. Oh, along with the individual sign videos, I am about to open my books for the year ahead readings for 2024. All right. I will be putting that service up this coming Friday on Black Friday. And basically it consists of looking at your transits for the entire year, pinpointing what's important, plus pulling some cards for messages from spirit. It's a whole vibe and it'll definitely get you right for the upcoming year. Again, I will be dropping that on Friday. There will be plenty of announcements, so keep your eyes open for that. All right. And as always, if you are someone who is new to astrology and you have no idea what's going on, or maybe you've started studying astrology and you feel kind of lost or maybe even overwhelmed because it's a lot of information, don't worry, I got you covered. I created this thing called the Astrology Basics Cheat Sheet, which is essentially the quick and dirty on everything you need to know to start studying astrology, mainly the 4 pillars of astrology, which are the planets, the houses, the zodiac signs, and the aspects. So it's an 11-page PDF document with all of the relevant information that you will need so that you can start committing it to memory. Because guess what? No matter what anyone says or doesn't say, astrology is definitely a science. And like any science, requires a good deal of study. So to help you get started studying, I created this cheat sheet. All right. And if you're interested, link is in the description box below. All you will need to do is drop your email address and you'll be good to go. All right, my loves. So let's talk about the week. Oh, hello, everyone. Yes, please. Okay, so yes, you definitely want a live. Yeah, so I probably will do that. I'll probably do a live with all of the astrological information for 2024. It's going to be a good year. Definitely a lot different than this year. Just from what I've seen so far. And I feel like this year was a tough year for many of us. And not just in the sense of things that happened, but a lot of this year was character building through challenges. And we're going to start to see when you take an exam in school, you study hard, you take the exam, and then you get the good grade and you get rewarded. I feel like next year is kind of a year where many of us will see the fruits of our labor. However, if you didn't put in any labor, you're definitely not going to reap any fruit. All right. So, but yes, I definitely think I will do a 2024 year ahead live. All right. But we're getting ahead of ourselves. Before we talk about next year, let's talk about this week. All right. So this is a very busy week, astrologically speaking. There's a lot going on. And I'm not going to say that it is challenging, although there are some challenging transits this week. I will say that we have a new season, like I mentioned before. Sagittarius season begins, so that's going to be a shift in energy. We've got a couple of Chiron transits, so healing is going to be on the menu this week for better or for worse. We've got a North Node transit, so expect faded communication, perhaps faded conversations that really point you in the right direction. Then we also have some Saturn transits where we're kind of going to feel limited, maybe feel a little restricted, but sometimes that's a good thing, right? I was having a conversation with a good friend of mine today, and it's like, you know how when you are super pumped up about something, let's say, you start working out, right? And I don't know why I use working out a lot as an example, but I think it's an example that a lot of us can understand. Let's say, you start working out, right? You got a trainer, you're going to the gym, and then 2 weeks in, like you fracture your toe or something happens or you pull your hamstring and you're kind of out of commission for a week. And you're like, oh man, I had this momentum, like I was really ready to go. And now I'm like, stopped. Like now I can't do anything. It's within that period of stopping, right? It's when you're sort of limited or restricted in what you need to do that it's really a good time for reflection and recalibration, right? Sometimes we have the best intentions when it comes to moving forward and we're hyped and we're amped, right? But sometimes our execution may not be the best. Sometimes if we were to continue the way that we were moving forward, we might be met with a bigger issue down the road. And so sometimes obstacles sort of, I want to say, the thing that just came to mind is I want to say like save us from ourselves, but I don't necessarily mean it that way. I think that sometimes we get in our own way, right? We are our own obstacle. And I feel like sometimes when we're met with outside obstacles or things that are out of our control, it's really the universe's way of being like, all right, chill for a second. I know you're excited. I know you're trying to do this, but maybe there's a better way to do this. Or maybe you need assistance from someone else. Or maybe there's a different route that you can take, right? Ultimately, when we're met with obstacles, I feel like it's also an opportunity to change your perspective about something. And a lot of times that change in perspective can be the difference between achieving something and not achieving something. So even though there's going to be some resistance this week, perhaps keep in mind that, one of the messages I've been getting a lot over the last week and a half to 2 weeks has been rejection is actually your protection. And that can be a really difficult concept to understand sometimes because you feel like you have the most well-meaning intentions, or like I said before, you have the most, you're so motivated and you're ready to move forward, and then something happens. You're restricted. There's an obstacle. You're told, no, this door closes. And it's like, well, sometimes we internalize that and we're like, oh, well, something's wrong with me. When for all you know, again, it could be the universe being like, listen, there's a better way to do this. Or maybe what you're doing is great, but not with this person, right? There's so many different ways to look at it, so many different vantage points when we're met with resistance and things like that. So it's really important that you take stock of where you're at and check in with your higher self. Like that's the ultimate. For me, I feel like that's the best way to sort of work through obstacles and challenges. It's like, well, higher self, you see everything, right? So what is this really? Is it me not? Is there something wrong with me, or is it something wrong with what I'm trying to do? Like, you have the answers within you. And so I say all of this to say that this week, when the rubber hits the road and where things get a little difficult, or maybe you're met with resistance, understand that maybe it's an opportunity to change your perspective. All right. So let's get into the week and see exactly what we've got going on. First, of course, the highlights. So first, we have what I like to call up, up, and away. And this is going to be the Sagittarius energy, because not only is the sun moving into Sagittarius this week, but Mars is going to be moving into Sagittarius as well. So this is going to be all about following your passion, being spontaneous, being a little risky, broadening your horizons and expansion, right? Scorpio season was very much about inner work, right? Shadow work, sort of getting your inner self together. And now that Sagittarius season is upon us, it's really the time to take everything that you've learned, everything that you work on, and, take it for a spin, right? It's time to, think of it this way. Scorpio season is like you are traversing the underworld, right? And Sagittarius is like you are flying into space, right? It's a very upward trajectory from Scorpio to Sagittarius season. And so that's the energy shift that we're going to be feeling this week. Then we have what I like to call limitation and restriction. And this is going to be the Saturn transit. So like I said before, limitations, challenges, obstacles, tests of character, right? It's not the case that, especially on the spiritual journey, it's not the case that things are not going to happen to you. It's about how you respond to what happens. And whether you sit there and you want to wallow in, well, this happened to me, poor me, having a pity party or blaming someone else and not taking accountability, like Saturn transits are all about a test of character. And if you pass that test, the rewards can actually be really great. All right. And then we have what I like to call healing potential. We've got 2 Chiron transits this week. So the way that these transits are going to work themselves out are going to be very different in terms of their energy. On the one hand, we're going to be very communicative and sort of in a teaching mode when it comes to what we've learned and what we've healed from. Whereas on the other hand, we may have more healing work to do, particularly in relationships. And whatever needs to be healed may be reflected back to us this week. So ample opportunity for healing, as always, right? All right, let's get into the week and see what we've got going on. All right, so today we've got the sun sextile Pluto, Mercury trine Chiron, and the moon is in Pisces. Thereafter, tomorrow we've got Mars sextile Pluto. And I want to point out that sextiles, right? It's when 2 planets are 60 degrees apart. They represent opportunity, right? It's a beneficial aspect, meaning that positivity can come out of the energy of both of these planets as they are relating to each other. However, you're not going to get the positivity unless you take some sort of action, unless you act upon a certain opportunity that perhaps is presented to you. So understand that at least between today and tomorrow, you may be met with some opportunities that can really propel you forward and can really be transformative, especially with the presence of Pluto. Thereafter, on Wednesday, we have the sun moving into Sagittarius, which signifies Sagittarius season. Venus will be opposing Chiron, and the moon will be in Aries. Thereafter, on Thursday, we've got the sun square Saturn. On Friday, we've got Mars following the sun, heading into Sagittarius, and the moon will be in Taurus. Saturday, we've got Mercury trine the North Node and a Mars square Saturn. And finally, we close out the week on Sunday with the moon in Gemini. All right, so without further ado, let's jump in. All right, so today, first up, we've got the sun sextile Pluto. So in that large red circle at the upper left-hand portion of the chart, you'll see the sun, which is close to Mars. And if you missed my video yesterday on the Sun conjunct Mars, you're definitely going to want to check that out because we're at a very important time right now in terms of new beginnings. So definitely check that out if you haven't checked it out already. But the Sun is actually going to be sextile to Pluto. So we've got the Sun at 28 degrees Scorpio. And then we have Pluto, which you will see at the little circle right under there at 28 degrees Capricorn. All right. Thereafter, we've got Mercury trine Chiron. Mercury is at 15 degrees Sagittarius, and Chiron is at 16 degrees Aries. All right, so those form a nice trine. And the moon will also be in Pisces, and you'll see that at the bottom mid to left-hand portion of the chart. All right, so first up, Sun sextile Pluto. This increases your need to succeed, right? The Sun has everything to do with our personality. It's the essence of who we are, okay? And so when it's sextile to Pluto, it has this drive and this passion that's not just like ego-based. It really comes from within. So for those who are living their purpose, living their mission, you'll find that Sun sextile Pluto will provide unique opportunities for you to further that mission or further that endeavor, right? For others, this may give you like this sense of wanting to find what your purpose is, right? Pluto is all about transformation. Pluto is very intense, sort of life-changing energy. And I feel like when it meets up with the Sun in this way, it really has us wanting to make a change, whether it's within ourselves or whether we want to be the agent of change, right? So you're going to want to take a look at where the Sun and Pluto are. Well, the Sun is in Scorpio still, right? So you're going to want to take a look at where Scorpio is and Capricorn. Those may give you a clue as to sort of where this energy is playing out for you and perhaps what you want to change, right? Now, keep in mind, the shadow side of Pluto energy has a lot to do with obsession, possession. This could really bring out your obsessive, compulsive tendencies if you have those. This particular transit also lends itself to the power of influence. Whenever we're talking about the Sun, we're talking about the essence of ourselves. We're really talking about ourselves. And so with a beneficial aspect like this one, right, the sextile to Pluto, you may find that you have a lot more influence, or you may find that you have a lot more power, perhaps over people. Perhaps your presence is very powerful. And if you find that that's the case, definitely use it to your advantage, but don't take advantage of it. Because we're talking about the Sun and we're talking about the self. If you abuse this power, if you abuse this influence, it's definitely going to backfire on you personally, right? You may find that the tables turn very quickly, and before you know it, you are being abused and you are being taken advantage of. So keep that in mind, all right? But by and large, this is a very empowering kind of transit. So you may find that you feel more convicted in your purpose, or there may be a cause or something that you're particularly passionate about or interested in that really just this transit is not only going to solidify it, I feel like it's also going to magnify that. All right. So definitely take advantage. You know the saying, strike while the iron is hot. So if you find that there's something that you're fired up about, or maybe you had a conversation with someone who sort of pointed you in the right direction, take advantage of that. Act on that right now because it'll definitely be beneficial to you. All right. Next up, we've got Mercury trine Chiron, and this is a beneficial transit as well, as trines represent effortless energy. It's like things just fall into place. So it's one of those situations, or it's one of those transits where we feel like giving the testimony of our healing. Sorry, my voice broke. Of our healing, okay? Chiron is known as the wounded healer, and where it is in your chart typically represents where you have insecurities, wounds, but it also represents where you can be the blueprint to others on how to overcome those insecurities and those wounds. And with an aspect like this, Mercury trine Chiron, it's almost like you can really give testimony to what you've been through. You know how, for instance, you'll have domestic violence survivors. And being able to hear the stories of people who successfully got out of domestic violence situations, it's empowering and it sort of motivates you to do the same. That's sort of the way this transit kind of works. Now is the time to be vocal about your story. So whether it's, kind of to yourself, whether you want to journal it, but more so, this particular transit lends itself to communicating with others about this. So this is a great time to post a video on it, maybe write a blog post, talk to people, maybe one-on-one about what you've learned, and stuff like that. And in doing so, people will really come to appreciate your wisdom. But more so than that, the better part of this particular transit is like you will be able to see how far you've come. And there's nothing that's more confidence building than being able to give a testimony about where you were versus where you are right now. And so, again, if you feel the need to counsel people, if you feel the need to, again, share your testimony, this is a great transit for that. And it's also a great transit to pat yourself on the back. Again, I feel like it's going to be one of those situations where you realize how far you've come. You realize what you've been through. You realize what you've overcome. And that deserves recognition, whether it's by others or even by yourself. Okay, so definitely keep that in mind. All right. And then next up, we have the moon in Pisces. All right. So we are headed towards the full moon in Gemini, which is going down next Monday. And today's moon in Pisces is known as the first quarter moon because it's halfway between the new moon and the full moon. And at the first quarter phase, this is where we put the past behind us, right? From the new moon, we've essentially been working, right? We've been working towards the things that we want. At the first quarter phase, you're like, all right, I've done this, I've done that. Now, looking to the future, what else do I need to do to make it to the finish line or to achieve my goals or whatever it is? Either way, it's about forward momentum, right? But when the moon is in Pisces, things get a little dreamy. Things get a little surreal. Pisces energy has a lot to do with fantasy, with illusion, with the imagination, right? But what I love about the waxing moon in Pisces, right? Because we're in the waxing phase of the lunar cycle, is that it's great for visualization. So this is the time to really put your imagination to the test. This is the time to really daydream. This is the time to really get caught up in your reveries, right? Because that is how you actively manifest, or at least that's part of how you actively manifest. When the moon is in Pisces, our intuition tends to be extremely heightened. Also, things like psychic activity, telepathy, all of those kind of things really thrive when the moon is in a powerful water sign like Pisces, okay? But just be mindful, whenever the moon is in Pisces, we tend to want to escape. So addictive behaviors tend to ramp up when the moon is in Pisces, right? So be mindful of that. We also tend to wear rose-colored glasses and not necessarily see things for what they are. So it's important that you kind of take things with a grain of salt. When the moon is in Pisces, it's not the best time, I would say, to make important decisions because you may not be seeing things as they truly are. Things may feel good in the moment. And then when the moon gets to a sign like, I don't know, like Taurus or Gemini, you're like, wait a minute, why did I sign up for this? Like, this makes absolutely no sense logically. So suffice it to say, while the moon is in Pisces for the next couple of days, if you're presented with opportunities, I'm not saying don't go for them. I'm saying see how you feel about the opportunity after the euphoria passes. After you've imagined how much money you're going to make from this deal, look at the fine print. Take a stock of reality and see if in a couple of days you still feel the same way. If you do, go for it. If you don't. All right. So that is Monday. All right. So let's keep it moving. All right, so on Tuesday, we have Mars sextile Pluto. So you'll see Mars at 28 degrees Scorpio at the top left-hand portion of the chart. And then you will see Pluto at 28 degrees Capricorn right under it, all right? So, excuse me for a second. All right. Mars sextile Pluto. In the same way that the sun was sextile Pluto yesterday, or should I say today, right? Mars sort of acts the same way. This is going to have you very intently convicted about the things that you want to achieve, particularly your desires, right? It's like someone's going to put a battery in your back about something that you really want, okay? You're going to feel very amped. You're going to feel desirous about certain things, okay? And this intensity is going to be very deep. This may even represent something that you've wanted for a long time that maybe you've denied yourself or maybe you've put on the back burner. Okay. So don't be surprised if something that you used to like or used to do, perhaps maybe even comes back up full force in a way to get you to re-examine it or to, re-engage with this particular desire, right? Let's see. This is also great for doing work, okay? Particularly physical work. So, things like, exercise, construction, things like that. Those kind of things would thrive under this particular transit, okay? Now, the one thing I will caution about this transit is that when you put Mars and Pluto together, it's almost like the focus becomes laser sharp. It's not so much that you're like, oh, I want to do this, I want to do that, I want to do this. It's almost like you fixate on one thing. These two planets together can really bring out people's obsessive nature, okay? Could also get a little dangerous. Now, because it's a sextile, it's definitely a positive. I feel like the way that this transit is going to work itself out is going to be positive. I don't necessarily think it's going to be, crazy, but it will have you laser focused on like one thing, to the point where maybe you are obsessed with it, or maybe you just can't stop thinking about it, right? So the best thing to do in that kind of scenario is get to work on that one thing. Don't allow that one thing to consume you in the sense that it stays a desire. It doesn't feel good to continuously think about something that you don't have or that you don't have yet, right? Mars is all about action. Mars is all about physical action as well. So if you find that you're obsessed about something, start taking action toward it. Caveat, not if you're like a stalker, not if you're obsessed with a person, like you're going to want to be, you're going to want to take it easy, right? But let's say it is, my example is always weight loss, right? This is the time for you to really hit the gym. This is the time for maybe put a meal plan together. This is the time to work with a trainer or whatever. Like take all of that energy, that obsessive energy, and focus it into action. So that being said, there's a lot that can be done under this particular transit. And it's happening on Tuesday. And Tuesday, the day of the week, Tuesday, is ruled by Mars. So this is great for physical activity. It's great for anything having to do with physical activity, surgery, knives, anything Mars related is going to work really well tomorrow because it's Tuesday and because of this particular transit. All right. So keep that in mind. All right. Let's keep it moving. All right, so Wednesday is probably the star day of the week because we start a new season, and that is when the sun enters Sagittarius. And you'll see that at the top hand portion of the chart with the sun being at 0 degrees Sagittarius. We also have Venus opposite Chiron. So Venus is at 16 degrees Libra. She's currently in her home sign. And Chiron is at 16 degrees Aries, directly opposite her. And that same day, the moon will be entering Aries. All right. So you're going to want to pay attention, particularly on Wednesday, where Aries is in your chart, because there's going to be a considerable amount of energy. And it's going to be energy that may not feel the best, right? Because the moon is about emotions. The moon is actually going to conjunct Chiron, which is about wounds and trauma. So you may find that out of this week, Wednesday may be the day where you're feeling extra emotional. And by emotional, I don't necessarily mean sad, because keep in mind that the moon and Chiron are in Aries. Aries is anger, it's frustration. So these are kind of the emotions that you may be feeling. Maybe it's inner rage. Maybe it's, competition, all of those kinds of Aries like energy you may be feeling, especially on Wednesday. All right. So keep that in mind. That means people may be a little more sensitive. And insensitive, it's like if you may find that if you have a confrontation with someone, it's not the case that your words are going to hurt them for them to cry. It may be that your words hurt them so that they punch you in the face, right? So definitely keep that in mind. But in any event, let's talk about the sun moving into Sagittarius. So I alluded before to the fact that when the sun is in Scorpio, our focus is inward, right? Scorpio is the underworld. Scorpio represents our deepest, darkest emotions. Imagine being at the bottom of the ocean where it's dark, it's cold, right? That's exactly the essence of Chiron, Aries, Cancer, Moon. All right, all right. The bottom of the ocean, it's our deepest, darkest stuff, right? Emotional baggage, trauma, desires, all of this stuff. And we are swimming in this during Scorpio season. And then by the time that Sagittarius season rolls around, it's like we are in a rocket ship. And not only do we get out of the ocean, but we are going into outer space, right? And so there's this element of expansion that Sagittarius brings, that Sagittarius energy brings. Not just expansion, but also optimism. It's like after being in the underworld for so long, it can be daunting, it can be heavy, it can be intense, right? And the Sagittarius season comes along and we're feeling hopeful, we're feeling optimistic, partly because Sagittarius energy has a lot to do with the bigger picture. We're not focused on the tiny details. We see things from a 30,000 foot view, and things start to make sense. But not just that, we also have the wisdom that we gain from Scorpio season, learning about ourselves, doing our shadow work, the wisdom we gain from that, and being able to sort of shoot out into the sky and expand gives you a sense of hope. It gives you a sense of optimism. And that's exactly what Sagittarius season is about. So in a more textbook kind of way, Sagittarius energy has everything to do with broadening your horizons, being spontaneous, taking risks. It has to do with higher education, long distance travel. Things that are at a distance from you are covered by Sagittarius, right? And so Sagittarius season urges us to expand our minds. That's why it rules higher education. So whether you are going back to school or whether you're studying things like philosophy or law or even religion, right? These are the things that thrive during Sagittarius season. Now, Sagittarius energy also has a lot to do with spirituality and faith. Not in the way that Pisces does. Pisces does it in a very holy and sort of sacred kind of way. Sagittarius is more about learning. It's about wisdom through experience. And it's about just faith in general, right? So these are the themes that may come up for you during Sagittarius season. But of course, you're going to want to look at your natal chart and see exactly where Sagittarius is. For instance, let's say that you have Sagittarius as your 10th house, right? That would mean that when it comes to career, not only is that going to be the focus for you during Sagittarius season, but naturally you're someone who sees the bigger picture. You may be someone who works in higher education. You may be someone who works in publishing, because Sagittarius has a lot to do with publishing, right? But you are someone who is optimistic, who is hopeful. And so during Sagittarius season, with Sagittarius in your 10th house, you may want to try to expand within your career, maybe get a promotion, maybe start your own business, right? That would be the focus for you during the next month, okay? But other than that, I love Sagittarius season because it just sort of feels good. I know here in the States, Sagittarius season sort of ushers in the holiday season. And you know how people typically, all things considered, typically, you feel that holiday buzz. You start to feel good. You start to feel hopeful and optimistic, right? That's essentially the essence of Sagittarius season. It's also a great time to travel, particularly overseas. to a place you've never been before. Now, we don't always have the luxury of doing that during Sagittarius season, although a lot of people do travel during Sagittarius season for Thanksgiving, right? But it is a great time perhaps to plan a trip, right? So this is a great time to put that in motion. But it's also a great time to take a mental vacation. And I actually learned this from my sister. She had this video of like, so back in the day, you know, the Sandals resorts, they would send you these like a video basically showing you what the resort is like. And whenever she would watch it, she'd be like, yeah, like I'm on a mental vacation. It's like she was there, right? And so Sagittarius season is great for taking a mental vacation, right? Expand your mind, visit different places, even if it's only in your mind or even if it's only on YouTube, right? Regardless, Sagittarius season is all about expansion. So definitely get into it. All right. Then next up, we've got Venus opposite Chiron. And so this may be a transit that doesn't necessarily feel the best, but is really necessary. So Venus is in her home sign of Libra. Venus already has to do with relationships, but in the relationship sign of Libra, this is like your wounds being reflected to you in your relationships, like point blank period. Like I'm not even going to sugarcoat it or try to say it in a different way. It's like, even if it's not your relationship with people, depending on where this is going down in your natal chart, it could be a relationship with money because Venus also rules money. But it's going to show you where you need a little bit more work, or perhaps where you need some more healing, or perhaps where you need to really start facing yourself. Okay. And that's never, I'm not going to say never, but it can be an unpleasant thing at times. However, much can be learned through this, right? Healing is I don't want to say an everlasting job, but healing is not like, okay, I healed this and I'm done, right? You're constantly improving. You're constantly given opportunities to perfect yourself. And Venus opposite Chiron is going to give you that opportunity via your relationships. So it's also a good time to be vocal, right? Especially when you need something, especially in relationships. Like it's a good time to really say what you mean what you say, and speak up. Okay. Now keep in mind, Chiron is in Aries. So speaking up may be met with resistance. It could lead to confrontation. Now, Venus in Libra is all about fairness and equality. And when it comes to relationships, it's not even just about whether your relationship is equal. It's more so about how you show up in relationships. Are you even being fair to yourself in this relationship? Many people may be faced with that reality during this particular transit. And again, with that Aries energy, it could be a little volatile. So I don't know. Sometimes anger is good. And I feel like with this particular transit, this may bring out inner anger. This may bring out inner rage. That's why I said speak up, because, you know, you can't bottle anger in. It's only going to hurt you, right? So it's really important that you speak up. It's really important that you convey what you need to convey. If things are out of whack, if things are imbalanced, then you need to say that. But you also need to see or examine perhaps where you're not being fair to yourself. Because inequality and unfairness in a relationship can ultimately be a reflection of where we're not being fair enough to ourselves. So it's a very reflective transit. And again, it's going to show you where you need some tweaking or where you need some real deal healing. All right. So take heed to that information and do the healing work as necessary. Okay. And then finally, the moon is going to be in Aries. So a lot of people are going to be amped, fired up. People are going to be, you know, ready for conflict. So be mindful, you know. But apart from that, when the moon is in Aries, it's a great time for physical activity. It's a great time for feeling your desires, right? And honoring your desires. So you'll definitely want to take advantage of that while the moon is in Aries over those next 2 days. All right, let's keep it moving. All right, so on Thursday, we are met with a somewhat challenging transit, and that is the Sun square Saturn. So the Sun, newly in Sagittarius, you'll see that at the left-hand portion of the chart, 0 degrees Sagittarius, will be square to Saturn, which is at 0 degrees Pisces. All right, so This may be a very sobering kind of transit. Remember, I said before, the sun has everything to do with the self, it's the essence of your being. Okay. Saturn is like, Saturn is like that tough father who ultimately loves you, but will make things difficult, is a disciplinarian, is perhaps strict, not necessarily to rain on your parade, but to give you structure in life and to perhaps mold you into the person that you ultimately need to be, right? Life is not always roses and rainbows. Sometimes it rains, right? You actually need rain for a rainbow. But whenever we're talking about Saturn, it's challenges, it's delays, it's obstacles, right? And because Saturn is in Pisces, the way this Saturn transit works itself out may be a little tricky because it may be a situation where you're not quite sure where these obstacles are coming from. It's like, it's not clear what the challenge actually is. And I mean, that can be, even explaining that sounds a little weird, right? Because typically, whenever we're met with resistance, we're very much aware of what that resistance is. But I feel like this resistance, this obstacle, this challenge, or whatever it is, it really may not be readily apparent to you. And so that may cause a bit of frustration because you're like, it's like, I'm trying to move forward, or even not trying to move forward. If we're talking about the sun, it's like, I'm trying to be myself. I'm trying to express myself, right? But it's met with resistance, and I don't even know where this resistance is coming from, right? That can be a pretty challenging situation, okay? But sometimes, like I said before, challenges and obstacles are really meant to give you a different perspective, right? And so it's almost, I almost want to say that, excuse me. I almost want to say that it doesn't really matter where the obstacle is coming from, because that's not what's important. What's important is the change in perspective. What's important is the lesson that you're learning, right? And I think that's the most important lesson of all, because sometimes when we're met with obstacles, we focus so much on the obstacle. Like, oh, this is in my way, this is in my way. And we turn all of our attention to that. Where this particular transit is like, you're not even going to know where this is coming from. So it's kind of irrelevant. You just have to learn the lesson that this particular situation is teaching you. Maybe it's you need to slow down. Maybe it's you need assistance from others. Maybe you need to take a different route to what you're trying to accomplish, right? It's the lesson, not necessarily the obstacle, okay? But here's the thing. Saturn is also about hard work. So it's not just about, okay, I'm met with this obstacle. All right, forget it. I'm not going to do anything. It's almost like you have to find the strength within you to push past it. So I said before, it doesn't really matter. It's irrelevant where the obstacle is coming from. But how much willpower do you have to overcome this obstacle, or to wait out this delay, or to traverse this limitation, right? Like, it's all about your willpower. How bad do you actually want this thing? I feel like this is going to be the test, and the test of character that this particular transit will ultimately show us, right? And because the sun is in Sagittarius, this is going to be like a notch on your belt when it comes to wisdom. I feel like this is going to help you see the bigger picture in a much clearer sort of way as you overcome this obstacle, or as you realize why this delay is happening. Again, it doesn't matter why. It doesn't matter that the delay is happening. Where's the delay coming from, right? It's ultimately how you respond to it. And so that's going to be the best way to get through this particular transit. Now, it's not going to last too long, but it is going to last. You're probably already starting to feel this energy right now, or maybe you're starting to see or feel some of these obstacles. So this is sort of the underlying energy for the week. However, if you are able to, like I said, traverse these limitations and sort of push past these obstacles, you'll be much better for it. All right, let's keep it moving. All right, so on Friday, right off the heels of the sun entering Sagittarius, we have Mars entering Sagittarius. And you'll see that at the top right-hand portion of the chart, Mars will be at 0 degrees Sagittarius. And then we have a cluster of planets in Taurus, right? So we've got the moon in Taurus. We've got Jupiter in Taurus. The ascendant, you don't necessarily need to worry about that, but we've also got Uranus in Taurus as well. But for the purpose of this week, we're going to be focusing on the moon in Taurus. All right. So first up, Mars in Sagittarius. Mars in Sagittarius is really about being motivated by our ideals and our beliefs. Okay. The one thing that comes to mind when I think about this transit is like people who are fanatical about their beliefs and take action that is in alignment with those beliefs, for better or for worse. Kind of reminds me of like Jehovah's Witnesses, going door to door to door to door, taking physical action on their beliefs. Yeah, that's exactly how Mars in Sagittarius works. All right. Remember I said before, Sagittarius energy has a lot to do with expansion. And Mars in Sagittarius really wants to expand, like really wants to take up space, really wants to take action that's risky, that's bold, that's adventurous, right? Sagittarius energy has a lot to do with adventure also. So this may have you really desiring something new, wanting to start something new that's adventurous, that's a bit risky, and that's in alignment with your desires. So Mars energy can be very headstrong. It can be very selfish. When we're talking about our beliefs, it's like people may also want to like beat you over the head with their beliefs. Hopefully not literally, but in this day and age, you never know. But yeah, people may really want to beat you over the head with their beliefs. That's something to think about. The other thing that I'm being shown right now is, I'm not sure that if you guys are familiar with the mythology of Icarus. Icarus had these wings that he created out of wax. And Icarus was flying and flying, but he got too close to the sun. And as he got too close to the sun, the wax melted and he fell, right? Sometimes we set our sights too high, right? Especially if we are really amped about something that we believe, or we want something really bad and we just set our sights so high. Now, that's a good thing. However, if you set your sights too high and have somewhat unrealistic expectations, you might find that you fall on your face. So it's really important to temper your desires, right? Like, be bold, be risky, dream big, but also take your brain with you at the same time. All right. Then we have the moon moving into Taurus, and the moon loves being in Taurus. That's the sign of its exaltation. So when the moon is in Taurus, the moon is treated like a queen. And I personally love when the moon is in Taurus because that's when you chill. That's when you relax. That's when you stop and smell the roses. That's when you just get comfortable, get cozy, and chill for a bit, right? Now, I love when the waxing moon is in Taurus, right? Because waxing is all about action and doing this and manifesting and embodying and all of this stuff, right? But when the moon is in Taurus, it reminds you that rest is important. And it's an important part of the manifestation process. It's not just go, 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 hustle, 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 do, right? Sometimes it's do, then rest and recalibrate. Save your energy for when it's needed. You don't need to be like a freight train out the gate every single day. Sometimes you need to literally rest. And when the moon is in Taurus, that's exactly what we are urged to do. And I love that for us. So, and it's Friday night. And I don't know about you, but let me not even say that. I think I look good for my age, but I am of a certain age. And yeah, clubbing and all of that stuff no longer interests me. I love being in bed on a Friday night, right? And so when the moon is in Taurus, you may find that you do too. All right. So enjoy it. All right. Let's keep it moving. All right. So on Saturday, we've got Mercury trine the North Node, and you'll see Mercury at the upper left-hand portion of the chart at 22 degrees Sagittarius. And the North Node is at 24 degrees Aries, all right? And then we also have Mars square Saturn. So just like we had the Sun square Saturn the other day, we've got Mars square Saturn as well. And Mars is still at 0 degrees Sagittarius, and Saturn is at 0 degrees Pisces, all right? So first, let's talk about Mercury trine the North Node. The North Node has everything to do with destiny, with fate, with sort of where we're headed in life, right? It's our North Star. And when Mercury meets up in a positive way with the North Node, this is really like fated information, fated conversations, learning something new that you'll probably use in the future. And your thoughts and words having this magnetic ability to help you attract what you need to get to where you need to go. So when Mercury trines the North Node, I think the phrase that comes to mind is a closed mouth doesn't get fed. So it's one of those days where you really want to promote yourself or promote your cause or promote what you're doing, because just the right person at the right time may hear your message and may offer something, whether it's a transaction, whether it's advice, whether it's an introduction, right? It's one of those days where you want to be vocal about what you're doing. You also want to be vocal about who you are. Your North Node is not just about what you're here to do in this life. It's also so much who you are meant to embody in this life. So when we're talking about the North Node, it's not even just about doing, it's about being. And so being yourself, being your authentic self at that is going to be really beneficial, because again, the right person may hear you, or you may get introduced to the right person, or you may overhear a conversation. That's exactly what you need to know at this time. Or you may be doing research and it's like the exact thing that you need for your endeavor, right? So be vocal, keep your ears, your eyes open, and speak up. Again, promote yourself, talk to people, let them know who you are and what you do, because the right people will indeed find you at this time. All right. Then we also have Mars square Saturn. All right. And this is another kind of tough situation. So the best way to describe this transit is, imagine being in a car, right? And, you turn on the car, you turn on the ignition, and you go to press the gas and go forward, but the handbrake is on, right? You can move forward, but it's a little, you definitely don't want to, right? It's having this forward momentum and then being stopped, limited, or restricted, which can bring up anger, which can bring up frustration, which can bring up rage even, right? But again, like I said before, it may be one of those situations where it's like, well, maybe you need to slow down. Maybe this limitation, you ever like missed your flight and then you're like, yeah, there's probably a good reason why I didn't make that flight. Or your car breaks down and you can't go someplace, and then you learn later on that the route that you take, like there was an accident or something like that. This could be one of those transits where it's almost like your rejection or the limitation that you're experiencing is really for your protection. That's really the overwhelming sense that I get for this particular transit. Like, maybe you were going forward too fast, or maybe you were being too reckless in this forward momentum that you have right now. And Saturn is like, oh, not so fast. Slow down a little bit. Like when you're a kid and you want to run everywhere? Like, I noticed that children love to run for no reason, right? And you know how, especially by the pool, kids love to run by the pool. They run, they jump in the water. You always have an adult talking about slow down, walk, don't run. That's Saturn this week. Saturn is slowing us down a little bit. It's restricting us, but it's all good. It's all how you look at things, right? And like I said, these Saturn transits provide opportunities for a perspective shift. But, intuitively, as I am saying this right now, I feel like this is a week of, okay, slow down a bit. And it kind of makes sense. It's a holiday week here in the States. So many of us won't be going as much as we normally would, like during a regular week. But there's something about slowing down. Take a look. Like, this isn't the time to be super fast and super reckless. Now, if you're presented with an opportunity, right, understand that slow and steady wins the race. No one is saying don't take advantage of the opportunity, but maybe you need to take advantage of it in a different way, or perhaps with different people. But slow down. I feel like that's the message that I'm meant to tell you guys. All right, let's keep it moving. All right. And last but certainly not least, we have the moon going into Gemini on Sunday, and that's how we close out the week. And you'll see that at the top left-hand portion of the chart, the moon is at 0 degrees Gemini. All right. Now, this is going to feel like a contradiction because I just said, slow down, right? Now, when the moon is in Gemini, we kind of don't want to slow down. Gemini energy is very mixy. It's very all over the place. It's the social butterfly of the zodiac, right? And so when the moon is in Gemini, that's kind of how we feel. We want to socialize. We want to talk. We want to be around people. We want to multitask. We want to do the most. We want to learn things. We want to indulge in our curiosity. And that's perfectly fine. But with the presence of Mars square Saturn, I feel like a lot of what we want to do, a lot of what makes us feel good with that moon in Gemini, again, multitasking and doing the most, you might be restricted in that too. And that's okay, right? Because again, I feel like there's this theme of slowing down this week. And there's this sort of concept of going too, like being stopped from going too fast, right? Now, the thing is, and this is coming to me right now, I talked about Mercury trine the North Node, which is happening on Saturday, right? And it's all about promoting yourself. It's all about talking to people, right? Now, the moon in Gemini is going to want to have you talking to a lot of people. But, however, you're going to want to use your discernment, okay? Because Gemini lends itself to a lot of, I'm not going to say meaningless chatter, because I'm not trying to throw shade on any Geminis. However, Gemini is very chatty, and sometimes it can be chatty for no particular reason, right? I'm sure we all know someone who talks a lot, and usually it's nothing of substance or nothing important, right? So you're going to want to use your discernment in who you're communicating with, because the cosmos are providing a unique opportunity for us to get to where we need to go. That Mercury trine North Node, I feel like it's going to, like I said, the right conversations with the right people, the right information. But if you are bombarded with information, if you are bombarded with conversation, if you're all up in the mix with all these people, it may be hard to discern who to talk to and who not to talk to. Or who to talk to, but understand that it's not information that's particularly useful, right? So use your powers of discernment and parcel out what's kind of important and what's not so important. It's not to say that you can't talk to people if they're not helping you, right? That's not what I'm saying at all. What I am saying is that, yeah, socialize with people, but if you have the choice between attending a lecture on a particular topic that you're very interested in, or meeting up with your friends to watch Love and Hip Hop, and no shade to Love and Hip Hop, I'm pretty sure you know where I'm going with this. I'm pretty sure you're going to want to be like, oh, well, maybe I should go to that lecture. I can talk to these broads about Love and Hip Hop any old day, right? But going to that lecture, maybe I'll hear something I really need to hear right now. So use your powers of discernment and just socialize. It's a Sunday. It's a great day for brunch. It's a great day to just be out and about talking to people. There's also one of those weeks where you don't necessarily want to be in your shell. And with this being a holiday weekend, I feel like many of us are going to have the opportunity to really talk to people and perhaps see people we haven't seen in a while. Maybe some of us are going home for the holiday and we're going to be seeing old friends and things like that, which is great. Socializing is great. But again, use your power of discernment to discern basically what's important to you moving forward and maybe what may not be so much. All right. So that's pretty much the astrology for the week. Let's move into the messages from Spirit and see what we have. All right, my love. So you know the deal. So at the end of every live, I pull cards for each zodiac sign. Now, whatever message resonates with you is your message, whether it's your sun sign, your moon sign, your rising sign, your Venus, or your North Node, doesn't matter. If the message is for you, then it is for you. All right. So as always, let us begin with Aries. Let's see what we've got for Aries. All right, Aries, we've got the 10 of Wands. You guys are overwhelmed right now. And I'm not going to say it's in a bad way. I'm going to say that you are overwhelmed with things that you want to do. It's like all of these represent like different desires, different projects. It's like you've got your hands full, literally, with passion projects, things that you want to do, things that you want to start. But as you can see, this guy's moving forward, but he can't see what's in front of him, right? So it's almost like you are moving about aimlessly. You're moving forward, but you can't really tell where you're going because you've got too much in your hand. It's time for you to drop some of these. And it's not to say that you drop, your desires for good. But again, remember that Mars energy, that is your ruling planet. It's all about focus, laser like focus. So maybe you want to drop this down from 10 to maybe 3 or 2, right? And put all of your energy into that. That way you can see where you're going and actually get there. All right. So it's great that you've got all of these desires, but you definitely want to hone that in and have laser like focus on just 1, 2, or possibly 3. And again, you'll be able to move faster, farther. All right. Next up, we've got Taurus. Let's see what we have for Taurus for this week. Okay, Taurus, your cards kind of wanted to get away. Okay. We've got the 5 of Pentacles and the 2 of Swords. Some of it, I got this feeling of wanting to get away. Something around you feels very heavy. It's like the energy feels very heavy. And when it comes to like someone around you, it's almost like their health is not the best, but I don't get it's their physical health. It's almost like their emotional health is not necessarily the best. And you're like, should I engage with this person or not? And you're kind of stuck in the middle. For some of you, it's a family member and you feel like, well, it's family, especially with the holiday coming up this week. You're like, I really don't want to be around this person's energy, but I kind of have no choice because, it's Thanksgiving. You always have a choice, right? But I feel like this person that's not necessarily doing the best, I feel like they can definitely benefit from your energy, whether it's from your conversation, whether it's from, even like a hug, right? And it's not to say this person's leeching off of you, but I feel like your presence is going to be very beneficial to whoever this person is who's not doing so well. It's almost like you're helping them out. So whether you want to be around them or not is kind of immaterial. It's the effect that you're going to have on them that's actually going to have both of you or all of you feeling really good. Okay. Hopefully that made sense. It seemed kind of jumbled in my mind, but hopefully you got that. All right. Next up, we've got Gemini. Let's see what we've got for Gemini. All right, Gemini, you've got 2 also. All right, Gemini, you've got the Sun and you've got the 7 of Swords. Gemini. Someone's hidden motives are going to come to light this week. You're going to learn about someone who had this kind of sneaky behavior, or someone who thought that they could get over on you, or someone who may have even taken from you. It's like the sun is going to shine on the fact that someone did you dirty, or someone did you wrong, or someone thought they could get over on you, and you're going to figure out who this person is this week, okay? I get the sense that this person's motive was somewhat innocent. I don't feel like this person is particularly malicious, or that they're really like, oh my God, I don't like Gemini, or, Gemini's not going to. I feel like this person's like, damn, I'm in a tough position. Let me do this, and then I'll explain to Gemini later. So I get this sense that I'm getting the sense that this is someone who's younger. They're either younger in years or they're less mature mentally. But this is someone who thought that they could get something over on you, take something without asking, something like that. And you're going to realize what that is. And I feel like it's going to spark a very helpful conversation. Whatever you have to say to this person, I feel like it's going to help them mature and help them grow up. Right? It's almost like that Saturn energy, giving them like a stern talking to that's actually really for their benefit. All right. So that should be really interesting. All right. Next up, we've got Cancer. Let's see what we've got for Cancer for this week. All right, Cancer, we've got the Knight of Cups. Someone is coming to you with an offer this week, and they are kind of putting their heart and soul into it. And you kind of connect with this person because you can empathize with them, or you really understand what they're trying to convey to you. I feel like this is a very welcome offer. Like, I feel like I don't necessarily get the sense that it's romantic either. I just feel like someone is going to come to you in a very open, sort of vulnerable kind of manner. Almost like this person is putting all their cards on the table and it's received well by you. Like, you appreciate the fact that this person is being emotionally mature and that they are giving you the opportunity to make an informed choice. Okay. But I do see this offer. I feel like it's an emotional offer. And when I say emotional, I feel like it's going to elicit a good emotion within you. So you may feel happy, you may feel excited, right? You may feel thankful or grateful for having had this conversation with this person. But either way, someone is coming toward you, I want to say with open arms, vulnerable, willing to put all their cards on the table. And I feel like at the end of this conversation, you and this person are going to be closer, whether it is like a romantic situation, whether it's friendship, even whether it's like a work thing. I feel like both of you are going to feel good after this offer, after this conversation. Okay. Next up, we've got Leo. Let's see what we've got for Leo for this week. All right, Leo, we've got the King of Pentacles. I hear like you guys are penny pinching this week and like counting every single coin. A lot of you are very money conscious this week. Like, especially when it comes to spending, you guys are focused on not overspending, like staying within a budget. You're very intentional about being financially responsible this week. And I feel like it's going to work out well for you. And you're doing this because you have an immediate goal that you are trying to reach. There's something that you're either saving up for. There's something that you've earmarked your money for. And you're like, okay, I'm using my money for this. And so I don't have, like, even if I'm tempted, right? Because again, it's a holiday weekend. So you may have people like wanting to go out, wanting to drink, wanting to do all this. You're like, I've earmarked my money for this. Like, I put my money aside for this. I can't really afford to be doing X, Y, and Z. So you guys are getting a dose of financial responsibility this week. And I feel like it's going to work out really well for you. And there's going to be this sense of accomplishment that you feel like you're going to want to pat yourself on the back because you're like, wow, like I really did that. Like I really was responsible. And I feel like it's going to have you feeling really good. Okay. Next up, we have Virgo. Let's see what we have for Virgo for this week. Virgo. 9 of Swords. You guys are very Virgo. You're Virgoing this week. Something is keeping you up. Something is really haunting you in a sense. I do feel like this is something that you are stressing about. But I get the sense that, and what I'm being shown right now is a duck on the water. When you look at the duck on the water, it looks like it's just gliding on the water, right? However, underneath, it is paddling like crazy. This is what it looks like underneath. And that's what I'm getting for you. It's like, to the outside world, you guys look like you have it all together. You're your normal selves. But underneath, it's like you are anxious, slightly fearful, and feeling like, or thinking that you have to do a lot. Like you really have to paddle like this feverishly in order to get something done, and just making you really anxious, scared, and stressed out. And Spirit wants you to know that no, like you don't have to do that. There is something that you need to do though. You need to focus your efforts. I think that this sense of stress and anxiety is because you've got too much on your plate. Too many responsibilities, too many ideas, too many of too many, right? And Spirit is like, if you would just rein it in a little bit, that would alleviate some of the stress and anxiety that you guys are feeling that may be keeping you up at night. This may be a great time to delegate. I'm being shown the Emperor card in the tarot, right? The Emperor delegates. The Emperor is not the one that fights the battle. The Emperor is like, you're the front line, you're the secondary line. Like delegation is going to be your best friend this week, okay? You don't have to take it all on your own, even though as a Virgo, you typically like to do that. But this is going to be a time where you have to alleviate some of the stress and unload some of these things that you have onto others, because there are people that are willing to help you if you would just open your mouth. Okay. Next up, we've got Libra. Let's see what we have for Libra for this week. Libra, we have the Knight of Pentacles. Slow and steady wins the race. I'm hearing keep doing what you're doing, especially when it comes to like a job situation or work. Like, this is not the time to rock the boat. I feel like you found a cadence when it comes to your work that makes sense for you. So just keep plodding along. Just keep doing what you're doing. You're headed in the right direction and you're doing the right things. Your message is short, sweet, and to the point. Just keep doing what you're doing and you'll be fine. Okay. Next up, we've got Scorpio. Let's see what we've got for Scorpio for this week. Scorpio, we've got the Strength card. There is something that you want to say, and I feel like these Saturn transits are going to limit your ability to say it. You see how this card, this woman, she's taming this lion, right? It's like she's closing this lion's mouth. This is like Saturn. This is like you. There's something you want to say. There's a certain way that you want to express yourself. And Spirit is letting me know it's not an issue that you want to express yourself. It's perhaps what you want to say that may come back to bite you in the ass later on. And Spirit is like, I'm sort of protecting you from yourself right now. So if you find that you're limited in your speech, you're limited in your communication, you feel like there's something that you want to say or do, and you're being restricted from doing so, you may want to examine why you feel the need to say this or why you feel the need to do it. And it's not that it's wrong. It's just that what you feel like expressing is very impulsive. It's something that you haven't really thought through. And so this restriction, this delay, this obstacle is really getting you to think before you act. So in that case, it's not, don't think that, oh, because I wanted to say this or do this then, and it's not happening, that means that it's wrong, I shouldn't do it. No, it just may not be the right time or in the right manner. And I'm also hearing the right medium. Maybe there's a way to express yourself in a different way, right? Rather than like a podcast, right? Maybe you want to create music. Like when I say medium, that's what I mean. So if you find that you're being restricted, recalibrate, re-examine, and think it through. I'm pretty sure that once you think it through, you might realize that maybe there's a better way to go about expressing yourself. Okay. All right. Next up, we've got Sagittarius. Sagittarius, you've got the Two of Swords. You're at a crossroads right now. You've got an important decision to make and you're kind of stuck. I feel like I feel like you're taking your time in weighing these decisions. But the presence of this card also lets me know that this week is not the time to make a decision. Excuse me. This is the time to deliberate. This is the time to, if you need advice, right, especially professional advice, that you seek it. This is the time where you really weigh your options. This is the week where you weigh your pros and cons. This is not the time for you to act on your decision or even to make one. Okay? That's really short and sweet and to the point. Deliberate. Think about it. Don't necessarily act on it this week. All right. Next up, we've got Capricorn. Let's see what we've got for Capricorn for this week. Okay, Capricorn. We've got the 10 of Wands. I forgot what other sign got this card, but same thing. You guys are overwhelmed with a lot of responsibilities. It's like you're juggling a lot of balls in the air. And if you keep trying to juggle all these balls, guess what? They're all going to fall. And maybe that's a good thing. Because if you're trying to keep everything afloat and everything kind of falls apart, that's how you're going to see exactly what you need to do. Notice, like I said before, this guy, he's got all these sticks. He can't see where he's going. If he were to drop all these sticks, he would see exactly what's in front of him. And when he sees what's in front of him, when he sees what the goal is, he can pick up which sticks are appropriate for that goal, right? Some of you have lost sight of the bigger picture. And I feel like Sagittarius season, particularly this week, is going to show you why you're even doing something. I feel like in the beginning you had one stick, you were fired up, you knew exactly where you wanted to go. Over time, you collected all these sticks and it kind of got you distracted. It kind of made you forget why you're doing what you're doing and what the purpose and the goal even is. And I feel like this is going to be a week where maybe you are divested of some of these. I don't necessarily get the sense that you are voluntarily dropping these. I feel like situations are going to require you to drop them, or people are going to take them away from you. Not in a bad way. Maybe people are taking over some of your responsibilities. Maybe some people are picking up, putting in more of their own weight in terms of these situations. And so now you have less sticks. And now you can see where you're going and the path before you becomes clear, and then you can act accordingly. So I feel like this is going to be a week of enlightenment for you, where it may not feel the best because, again, all of these sticks may fall, but it's ultimately for your highest good. Okay. Next up, we've got Aquarius. Let's see what we have for Aquarius. All right, Aquarius, we've got the Wheel of Fortune. So this is going to be a fortunate week for you. This is also the card of karma. So past deeds, the effects of past deeds, past actions may find you this week. And I feel like it may be a positive thing. I feel like you're going to be feeling good. I feel like things are coming full circle. For some, this may also be sort of a cycle is ending. But more importantly, I feel like this is just the wheel is turning, and it's turning in your favor. And I feel like you're going to feel very good about that. So this may be a week where you're kind of celebrating, or where you're just feeling good about how far you've come. Okay. That one's short, sweet, and to the point too. And last but certainly not least, we've got Pisces. So let's see what we've got for Pisces for this week. Pisces, we got the 5 of Cups. So some of you are kind of down in the dumps. You know, sometimes the holidays can bring up feelings of sadness, isolation, regret, right? So I feel like there's something about this week that is bringing up things that not only you would rather not think about, but that make you feel sad, that make you feel depressed even, okay? But what I love about the depiction of this card is that if you'll see over here, he's sort of lamenting over these 3 cups, but he's got 2 erect cups behind him, which means that you're never alone. Whether you feel like you're alone physically, or maybe you're even alone emotionally, you really are never alone. And honor how you feel. You know, this isn't a situation where you should just sweep how you feel under the rug, but go through it, process it, particularly as we end Scorpio season. So this may be some repressed emotions coming up for you to finally deal with them, for you to finally face them, for the emotions to do what they're meant to do. They're meant to rise, and then they're meant to dissipate. So whatever comes up, allow it to come up so that it can dissipate, so that you may rid yourself of this feeling of isolation, sadness, or regret, right? But allow yourself to feel what you're going to feel, work through it, and heal. And take the time to heal. Heal in whatever manner you need to, right? You know, the holidays tend to bring up family wounds and things like that, especially if we are celebrating or being around family. So it's really important that you address what comes up and process it. All right, my loves. So that concludes this edition of the Weekly Astro Forecast. I sincerely hope that you were able to get at least one important piece of information that you can use going forward. All right. Thank you so much for tuning in. Have an amazing holiday if you celebrate, and I will see you in my next video. All right.